What is up, YouTube? This is my top 15 movies of 2012. It was hard for me to narrow it down to 10, so I just extended it to 15. And I was debating whether or not to tell you some notable names that I left off the list, but I will just go ahead and get that out of the way at the beginning of the video. And keep in mind, this is my opinion. I think that this year, kind of like, in my opinion, it was one of the best years for shoes in a long time. This was hands down the best year for movies I can remember in maybe 5 or 6 years. I thought there were tons and tons of good movies, whereas the past few years I thought there were just maybe 1 or 2 really good movies. My whole top 15 I would recommend to anybody. But as far as notables that aren't on the list, I didn't have either The Avengers or The Dark Knight. I thought The Avengers was really good, really entertaining, but it was a little bit on the kind of cheesy side at some moments. Overall, it was a really good movie, though. It just didn't crack the top 15. And Dark Knight, I thought was good, but it was predictable, and I thought it also had a few moments like the whole Robin thing. It was just kind of like, eh. And I liked the original voice of Bane before they switched over to the more understandable, high-pitched version. I think they could have done the original, more deep, scary voice with subtitles, and I think that would have been a little bit better than the high-pitched version that they switched to. But overall, still a really good movie. Some other movies I didn't include were Perks of Being a Wallflower. Again, I thought it was a good movie, but I thought that one of the main characters was a freshman in high school, and I thought that that was more like, I could relate to it if it was a college situation, but they made it seem as if this freshman in high school was exposed to all these different things, and me personally, I couldn't relate to it because there was nobody doing that sort of stuff at my high school when I was a freshman. So for some people, they really liked it, could relate to it. Sorry, there's a sump pump in the background that sometimes kicks in and off if you caught that. But also didn't have Skyfall, Les Mis, or Zero Dark 30. I already reviewed Zero Dark 30, so you understand my take on that. But Les Mis, I thought it was a good story, but I'm not a musical fan. This did not make me a musical fan. And Russell Crowe can't sing, and Hugh Jackman is even worse of a singer. He was god-awful. So those are some notable ones I left off. So I'll just get into the top 15 movies that I've seen. Again, this is my personal opinion. And just kind of to tell how I rate movies, my number one thing that I like in most movies is kind of an emotional connection, can relate to the characters, that sort of thing. And then my second favorite thing is creativity, new concepts, and then animation. And then kind of acting really comes into play probably third or fourth. And then script. You can have a great script, but if I don't relate to the characters and it's not executed well from a directing standpoint, then to me it's really a moot point, I guess you would say. So let's get into my top 15. Number 15, I have The Master. And The Master was a kind of bizarre movie, but overall amazing acting. It was kind of based on Scientology, where Philip Seymour Hoffman plays, I can't think of the guy's name now, but he was the guy that founded Scientology, and Joaquin Phoenix was kind of based on a fictional character who kind of becomes Philip Seymour Hoffman's right-hand man, and it just talks about how cults are started, that whole sort of thing. And overall, it was a kind of weird movie, but the acting was phenomenal. And that's where my top 15 starts. Number 14, Django. Django Unchained. Now you guys may be saying, whoa, that's kind of low on the list, but like I said, this is the best year for movies I can remember in probably 5-6 years. So I already did a review on Django. Most of you already know the story. Really good movie, recommend it. And then number 13, I didn't even realize was a movie from 2012 until I was looking through other people's top 10s and that sort of thing. Now, number 13, I think, is hands down the best comedy of the year, And I'm a huge comedy fan. I love comedies, but there haven't been many great ones recently, and I didn't include Ted in my top 15 because Ted, to me, while it was extremely funny, it was almost kind of like a chick flick in disguise, whereas 21 Jump Street, I could definitely relate to this movie. It gave me new respect for Channing Tatum, just hilarious. I thought it was very, very well done, and by far the best comedy of the year. Now, number 12, I have Safety Not Guaranteed. Now, this movie is about a guy who places an ad in a newspaper for time travel, and then there are some other people that see the ad and pursue a story basically based around this guy, seeing if it's a joke, seeing if he's serious, and then it kind of evolves into something more. Now, this is one of the most creative and original movies that I've seen in a very long time, and the ending was kind of a little on the cheesy side, but it was also really funny and really good, so I highly recommend this movie. Number 11, this movie, I've never seen, at least from memory, a movie that can relate to this. Now, my number 11 movie is Bernie, and basically what they did for Bernie was infuse a actual movie shoot with documentary footage. Now, Bernie was played by Jack Black, and this was based on a true story, and Jack Black, aka Bernie, was a funeral director, very well known within the community, and he took on the funeral services of a widow who essentially goes on to take advantage of Bernie in many situations. He basically becomes a maid for this widow, and it kind of outlines the crazy story that ensues. It's actually based on a true story, and while they were shooting the movie, a lot of the witness testimony, they shot on the same camera, but they were actually interviewing real witnesses that lived in the town and all that sort of thing. So I thought it was flat out entertaining, crazy story. I didn't even realize it was true until it was over, and then I was like, wow, that is unreal. So I definitely recommend Bernie. My number 10 is Hobbit. I thought Hobbit was great. Left me wanting more. I definitely think they could have condensed it into 2 movies or 1 movie as opposed to stretching it out across 3. It definitely could have been shortened, but as far as visuals go, Peter Jackson's always on point when it comes to that, and overall, really solid movie. My number 9 was actually my dad's favorite movie, and it's the front runner for, well, it got the most nominations for the Oscars, and that's Lincoln. Now, Lincoln, I loved. I'm a huge history buff. Like you guys know, I'm in law school, so I like learning about that sort of history. But the thing about Lincoln, to me, that was why I placed it at 9 as opposed to higher, was because I thought Spielberg really kind of screwed up the last 25 minutes of the movie. He either should have cut it short or extended it a little bit and made the assassination, all that, more fluid. After the amendment passes, as we all know, it basically becomes this jumbled mess like the last 25 minutes, in my opinion. And I think if they cut that off or extended it and made it more of a clear transition, I think it would have been within my top 5. Because hands down, Daniel Day-Lewis, best actor. He really brings Lincoln to life. Flat out amazing. I don't think he's got any competition when it comes to best actor. He was great. And I think Tommy Lee Jones was also great. Sally Field, who was nominated, did an okay job, but I think since she was playing such a crazy character, she did do a pretty well job. But Daniel Day-Lewis, flat out amazing. This movie is worth seeing just because of his performance. Then my number 8 would be Life of Pi. Now, I recommend seeing this in 3D because, in my opinion, best visuals of 2012 of any movie I've seen. Amazing visuals. That's why it's number 8. It was a great story, but kind of drawn out as well. But my mom, who read the book, said that it was very hard to conceptualize, in the form of a movie, and she thinks that Ang Lee did a really good job of bringing it to life and making it way easier to understand from a movie perspective. A lot of people didn't think it could be done, but from everybody I know that's read the book said he did a really good job. The number 7 is a really original movie called Moonrise Kingdom, and that was done by Wes Anderson, and it basically is a love story amongst two kids. And a lot of people I know that saw it, especially girls I know that saw it, said that, oh, this is the most amazing love story I've ever seen, and it's just two little kids partaking in it. And I think it was extremely entertaining. It had Bill Murray, Bruce Willis, and I can't think of the third guy, but really funny. There were some hilarious scenes with Bruce Willis, and I'm surprised he actually didn't get a nomination for this movie because a lot of people were talking about it. So this one was a big snub at the Oscars, but still definitely recommend seeing it. Really entertaining. And then number 6 is Argo. Now Argo is based on a true story about trying to get prisoners of war from the Middle East, and basically Ben Affleck heads, I want to say, a CIA team or some governmental team that basically acts as if they're shooting a movie in the Middle East in order to get these prisoners of war home. Now, I'm shocked that he didn't get a Best Directing nomination, but it still did get some nominations for the movie, and I think that in terms of shooting, it was amazing how they intertwined like 70s camera work with new technology, with actual news clips. I thought overall it was very cleanly put together, well done, well deserving of the number 6 spot. And then number 5, I have Looper. Now, in my opinion, I know I've got a lot of arguments from people about this, but to me it is the most creative movie I've seen since Inception, but I actually thought it was better than Inception because I connected a lot more with the characters. Whereas Inception, when I saw it, I was like, I could care less about any of these people. I thought it was a really creative movie, but a lot of people I thought were like, if they could figure it out, that was the whole reason they thought it was good. They're like, oh, dream within a dream within a dream, which means blah blah blah. Was he alive at the end because of the spinning top or whatever? So it created a lot of buzz, and I think it made people feel smarter than they actually were, in my opinion. But I think Looper, from a just ingenuity standpoint, just a new concept, it took my breath away after I saw the movie. As lame as that sounds, I thought it was amazing. Now some of my friends were like, oh, it's just an okay movie, but I thought it was a concept that we've never seen before, about time travel, as you guys know. It was directed well. I thought it had a really great ending. I definitely recommend you guys checking it out. And then number 4, I would say, would be Silver Linings Playbook. Now Silver Linings Playbook got a slew of nominations, including Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Supporting Actor. So you have Bradley Cooper, Robert De Niro, as well as Jennifer Lawrence. So I thought very well done. I really connected to all the characters. Could really relate to it. I especially like Robert De Niro's character. And it's basically about two people that have had bad experiences with relationships that end up coming together. And Robert De Niro plays the dad of Bradley Cooper, who his dad is a very superstitious guy when it comes to sports. He always has people sitting in specific spots, and I could kind of relate to that with my dad and I when it comes to superstitions with sports. So overall, really good movie. My number 3 movie is one of the most underrated movies of the year, and that is Cloud Atlas. To me, this movie was epic. It was like 3 or 4 movies within one movie. I'm surprised it got virtually no nominations. I don't think it got any nominations, actually. I'll have to look into that. But to me, amazing story. And for as long as this movie was, it was the shortest seeming 3+ hour movie I've seen this year, because like I said, it was like a movie within a movie within a movie. And it kind of involves rebirth or reincarnation, and how we're connected to people from the past, and how we keep repeating the same things. And it kind of ties into, if you're good in this life, you'll have a better next life, and if you're bad in this life, you'll have a worse next life. So that's kind of what the movie was about. I thought it was a great concept. Again, another one of those movies based on a book that a lot of people said would be hard to turn into a movie, but I thought it was very well done. Then my number 2 movie is actually a documentary, and I think this movie should win Best Documentary. It was nominated, it's one of the 5, and that is Searching for Sugar Man. Now, this is a story about a guy who was basically unknown musically in the US, but had a cult following in South Africa, and he didn't even know about it. Now, this is a story that couldn't even take place today, basically, because of the internet, and it just plays out like a narrative, and it is an unbelievable story. Most people know what happens going into the movie, but that still doesn't eliminate the anticipation building up, the emotion once he actually performs again for the first time. It is flat out great movie, and I would say maybe the best documentary I've ever seen. Hoop Dreams is up there. That's a sad movie, but Searching for Sugar Man, it's pretty epic, and I would put it as probably the best documentary I've ever seen. And documentary is one of my favorite genres of film, so highly recommend that. And then my number 1 movie is Beasts of the Southern Wild. A lot of people may agree or disagree with me, but because of the strong emotional factor and the very strong acting, in my opinion, that's what put it to the number 1 spot. It's basically a movie about a father and daughter who live in Louisiana during a time period like Katrina, and kind of takes you through their journey and their thought process as an event like that unwinds. I really enjoyed it because it took me someplace that I could never understand without seeing a movie like this, and I thought that the guy who directed it, 30 years old, first time, big time director, amazing, and the 2 main actors, the father and the daughter, really good job, and the girl, who was actually 6 years old when filming started for this movie, was nominated for a Best Actress nomination. I think it was very well deserved. Overall, great movie, highly recommend it, and that's my top 15, guys. Thanks as always. Rate, comment, subscribe. Peace.